You ever have one of those days where you're just trying to record a video and both your throat and your brain just decide they're not going to work? That's happening today. Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Eric randomly talks into his web camera and gets comfortable doing so. It's episode number 3 of the Why I Love Comics Awards, and the final episode, which we talk about gaming. Yay! Like I said, that's my throat failing me completely. I apologize ahead of time because I'm probably gonna have to clear my throat like 2 or 3 times. I'll try to do it away from the microphone. But yeah, like I said, we are talking best of the year in gaming. So we are actually going to start with Game of the Year itself, and we're actually talking about an adventure game, which, yeah, I know is surprising, but Game of the Year goes to Telltale Games' Walking Dead game, which was absolutely fantastic. Everything about this game easily justifies it being Game of the Year. From its lead characters, Lee and Clementine, Lee being the adult that watches after this young girl named Clementine, who he finds not abandoned, but well, you'll see when you play it, and it's just the writing is so good, and the choices that they force you to make throughout every single episode, because it's a 5-episode series, probably about, I want to say, probably about like at least 22 to 24 hours of gameplay, depending on how fast, trying to fix my glasses, how fast you go through the game. And like I said, the choices that you make, these choices absolutely matter throughout the entire game, depending on who you end up partnering with, to just what happens and what choices you make while protecting Clementine. And it's just it's much more in line with the actual graphic novel, and I believe Robert Kirkman co-wrote it. I could be wrong on that part, but it's the tension's there. Each kill is extremely gratifying. Like I said, the choices that you make actually completely matter. Everything you decide matters, and if you make a terrible decision at any point, it could come back and bite you in the ass. And it's so good. Everything about this game, voice acting, writing, the action scenes, to the drama, to everything. It feels like you're playing through a zombie apocalypse. And I know myself as a gamer, and you know, as a nerd and geek who has thought about what you do in a zombie apocalypse, I made decisions that I thought would make sense. And seeing at the end of every chapter, they would show you what other gamers and what other people that played the game, what choices they made. And it was kind of fascinating and interesting to see just how different I was from other people, and kind of going, really? You would really do that? And it's really interesting stuff. And I gave it my Game of the Year because even at this point, I think it's been about a month since I played that last chapter. It's still resonating with me easily, that ending, and I cannot wait to see if they do a season 2. I'm not sure if they are going to do a season 2. I think I read something that they're going to, but I can't wait to see what they do with it next. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend checking it out, because it's just great stuff. And we move on from Game of the Year. Yes, I have the Book of Doom. We move on from Game of the Year to Best RPG, which this will surprise some people, but I will stand by this. The only thing I don't like about that game is the 3-choice aspect at the very end of the game. I even like the extended cut ending and what they did with it, even though it's kind of a slideshow. But I'm talking, of course, about Mass Effect 3, BioWare's finale to their trilogy, to their Star Wars trilogy of gaming, as I've referred to it at many points now. And it's absolutely fantastic. If you have not played any of the Mass Effect games, they now have the trilogy collection, and I'd highly recommend picking that up, because it's actually a pretty good price too, to my knowledge. But I really think it ends a lot it ends the majority of the things that, and for the most part, if you play this game right, it actually will, yeah, it'll end the majority of the things that you've still had questions about. Raises a few interesting questions, especially with some of the DLC, like Leviathan. Leviathan was really, really cool stuff. I didn't give it DLC of the year, but it was some really, really interesting, cool stuff explored there. And it's cool to see Shepard coming to the end of his journey, end of his or her journey, because I know there are plenty of gamers out there that played as Jennifer Hale's voiced female Shepard, or femme Shep as some call her. I played as a male Shepard because most of the games I play, except for like something like Beyond Good and Evil and like Tomb Raider and that kind of stuff, if you can choose a male or female avatar, I always choose a male avatar because I'm a male gamer, so it makes sense, at least in my head, to play a male character. I mean, because I'd want the character to be as close to me as possible. But I can understand, because Jennifer Hale is an awesome voice actress, so I understand the rabid fan base that FemShep has. But yeah, as I was saying before I went off on that tangent, it's interesting to come to the end of Shepard's journey, meet a handful of new characters who are actually really cool in my opinion, see evolution for long-running characters like Edie, which I loved seeing what happened to Edie and how she changed. I love meeting Javik. The fact that they added a Prothean to this game, at the end of the day, it's still shady that you had to purchase Javik unless you got the collector edition of the game, which came with him. But he is... The reason it's weird to me is because he's central to the story, and he's built into so much of the game that it feels like you just had to like download some sort of code to be able to continue playing the game with him. Like half of his, or most of his data was already on disc from what it seems. But he's a great character, and well worth buying as a character, because it's not like a Kasumi thing. It's not like that from 2. He is throughout the game, and he's just, for a Prothean who you thought, you're like, oh well, we're gonna get a Prothean. He might be able to help turn the tide of war, which he may or may not do. But he's just an asshole, and it's awesome. He has this god complex almost. Or not god complex. He just thinks he's better than everybody else, and whether or not that's true or not can be argued. But he's just this really fascinating, cool character, and the voice actor they got for him added a lot to the game itself. And you have all these story points and storylines resolved, and you do have teases of some stuff that could happen after the fact, and it was a fantastic game. The progression system was really cool, and it really did feel like you were playing the third part of a trilogy. Like, if you played 2 and then you start up this one, you can start from the level that you left off in 2. And then go from there, which I thought was really, really cool stuff. And there's a lot to love about the game, and like I said, there are the issues with, we'll just say Star Child. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't like the Star Child. I don't like that part of the ending, but I do like the extended cut that follows after that. There's even a 4th ending, which was a possibility that, without spoiling anything, I thought it was interesting and cool that you could, Liara makes a beacon at one point in the game that you'll basically see at that 4th ending, which I thought was really cool stuff. And it's just, I'd highly recommend it to any gamer that loves science fiction, anybody that was like a Farscape fan or a Star Wars fan. It is very much a starship. It's very much the Star Wars of gaming. And I would highly recommend checking it out. And it's easily my best RPG of the year. We actually move on to Best Voice Acting, which, funny enough, is, as I kind of went off on that mini tangent about playing male avatars since I'm a male gamer, and since for all 3 games, and especially this one, I've been hearing his voice for at least 100 hours, if not more. But I'm talking, of course, about the male Commander Shepard, Mark Meer, who I've had on this podcast, which I will link in the show notes below, where you can find that episode of the podcast, and I highly recommend checking it out, because Mark is awesome, super talented, and he knocked it out of the park with every single line reading in this game, easily. And I mean, like I said, that Leviathan DLC, wow, they get into some really cool and interesting stuff that gives them some great ability to give some great line readings. And it's just, he is a great voice actor, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And yeah, I can't wait to see what he does next, because he has a sitcom up in Canada, and I live here in the United States, so sadly I can't get that show, or haven't been able to figure out how to yet. But if it ever becomes available over here, I'll be watching it, because Mark is an awesome guy. He's a cosplayer, voice actor, comedian. He's awesome, and I kind of hope he does more voice work for games. I'm not sure if that's in the cards, but I hope so. And moving on from that, we're actually talking about best female voice acting, and I actually gave it to Ashley Burch. You might know her from Hey Ash, What You Playing, which is a web series online, but you might also, or you might not know, she was Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2. And for those who have played the game, you know, and those who haven't played the game yet, which I highly recommend you do, Tiny Tina was a little girl, probably, I can't remember if she's 11 or 12, but she's a little girl who's kind of a couple screws loose, and she's this very funny, unique character who just has all the personality. I mean, she gives Claptrap a run for his money, and Claptrap is like one of the lead characters of the game, and she steals every single scene she's in, and Ashley does a fantastic job at portraying this character that you just want to hang around with and be like, no, give me another mission so I can hear more of your awesome lines, because I thought she was hilarious, and I kind of hope we get more Tiny Tina in Borderlands 3, or even more of the DLC. So I guess we'll see. But we move on to best indie game, and I am talking actually of. And I hope this doesn't surprise people, but I'm talking about Retro City Rampage, which originally started off as just a straight up like GTA parody with 16-bit graphics, and it turned into so much more. There are so many references packed into this game. Its developer, one guy developed this whole thing. Brian Provinciano? Yeah, I think that's how you say his name. But Brian, if you watch this video, you are absolutely awesome. And this game is just so addicting and so much fun. And like I said, there's so many references thrown in, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Batman to all the, like, Frogger to... There are so many references that it's hard to tell you how many references. Epic Mealtime, Super Meat Boy, there's so much. And it's a fantastic game, and it's very GTA minded. Back to the Future. I gotta keep mentioning the references, but yeah, highly recommend seeking this out. To my knowledge, it's basically on every system that's out right now. I know the Xbox Live Edition took the longest to come out, I think. I think the Wii version hasn't come out yet. But yeah, I'd highly recommend looking up Retro City Rampage, and it's beyond awesome. I mean, I haven't even finished the game yet. I'm about like 40% through, because I get distracted by all the little tiny missions that you can do instead of the main missions, and it's a lot of fun, from destroying everything to that epic mealtime minigame. It's just, there's so much to love about this game, and you can tell just how much they packed into it. And we move on to Best Multiplayer Game, which is another indie game, and it's actually Awesomenauts. And for those that don't know, first, it has possibly the best theme song of the year, Awesomenauts! I'll never do that again. But yeah, Awesomenauts is a fun. It's almost like TF2 meets Worms to a certain extent, and it's this highly addictive, cartoony shooter defend your base kind of game, and it's crazy, it's fun, and I know I just said it's best multiplayer, but I know they're still working on fixing their matchmaking, because their matchmaking was severely broken for a little while there. It's fun even with the matchmaking broken, and I'd highly recommend checking it out because it's only $10, and they update constantly. They bring in new characters, and this actually leads into best DLC too, because it's one of two best DLCs that I named, because the Awesomenauts thing, like I said, is they update this thing so much with patches, new characters. There are costumes. Costumes are the only things you ever have to pay for with this game, and even the costumes add a lot to the game, and I would highly recommend picking it up because it's so much fun. And since we're talking about best DLC, I will talk about my other best DLC, and that is, and this should come as no surprise to anyone who knows I've spent at least, if not over, 200 hours with this game. I'm talking, of course, about The Binding of Isaac, Wrath of the Lamb expansion, which added so much. It added like 50% more stuff to the game, and it came out in May of 2012, and it was so addictive and so much fun, and just added so much more stuff to the game, and it's just highly recommend. I mean, you can get the whole game, including its expansion, for about $8, I think, when it's not on sale. I think if it's on sale, it's usually like $4 altogether, and it's just, talk about value. I've spent over 200 hours with this game. That's how addictive this game is. And Edmund McMillen made an awesome game, and we're actually going to be talking about Edmund in the most anticipated games in a little bit. But yeah, like I said, Wrath of the Lamb, awesome DLC, and well worth the time. It feels like a whole new game. And best shooter, and then I will actually talk about best first-person shooter, because I had to throw that in after the fact. But yeah, best shooter goes to Hotline Miami, which is another independent game. Yeah, I know, I'm naming a lot of independent games right now, but some of that is, as I talked about too, an episode before, is, I mean, Indie Static got me into a lot of these games, not to mention Indie Static, Jesse Cox, a whole bunch of YouTubers, but yeah, Hotline Miami is just this crazy shooter, beat 'em up kind of game that one hit will kill you. One hit will also kill your enemies, depending on how close they are, or you can even do like a spacebar kill, which is really cool stuff. And it's just this visceral, bloody, just crazy game that if you haven't played it yet, everything will be in the show notes below, like all the trailers to these games, and either trailers or the official website, and you guys have to see the trailer for this one. You unlock different masks that have different abilities, and there's just so much about this game that is beyond awesome. And I will actually real fast talk about best first-person shooter, which it came out towards the end of the year, but Far Cry 3 easily. And it's just, talk about, I mean, just as much as Hotline Miami, it's extremely visceral, and in like each kill, especially when you do stealth takedowns, it's just you just kind of in your head go, wow, like you can't believe what the game is doing, and it's crazy, and it's a fun, awesome game, and just like Hotline Miami, but Hotline Miami a lot cheaper. I think it's only $10 on Steam. I'm not sure where else you can get it, but yeah, definitely look into it, and look into Far Cry 3 as well, because I think it just dropped down in price. With its first DLC, I think it dropped down in price. But best writing goes to Borderlands 2, and that was actually done by, since we were talking about Ashley Burch, her brother Anthony Burch, and his friend, why can't I think of Mikey Neumann? There we go, Mikey Neumann, who they also did Anthony Saves the World, which was a very fun and overlooked web series that I hope is still up somewhere online. That I'd highly recommend looking it up if you ever get the chance to see it. But best writing, Borderlands 2, easily, and I will take no arguments to differently because, in my opinion, everything you'd want rating-wise in a game. It's funny, it's witty, it keeps you constantly guessing, and it's just you're laughing every couple minutes at some of the, or if not laughing, just smiling at some of the stuff coming out of the characters' mouths. Like Claptrap. Claptrap is like this just crazy robot that you just can't help but to love because he's nuts, and he's an awesome character. And I mean, I love all the writing about this game because I could not predict one thing that happened, and it kept me constantly guessing. And I'm still playing it. I haven't touched any of the DLC yet, but I'm getting close to finishing the game, and then I'm gonna buy all the DLC just to see how much it adds to story and impact and all that. But it's best writing easily goes to Borderlands 2, and we're talking next about. Oh yeah, I forgot I threw this category in there. Weirdest licensing deal. Angry Birds Star Wars. I've still yet to play it, but I still think it's incredibly odd. I mean, Disney now owns the property, but this happened before Disney owned the property. And it looks like a fun game, but the Angry Birds playing all these characters that you know and love, and then the pigs are Vader and his forces, and it's so odd to see. And it's just the weirdest deal that I can possibly think of. And we actually go back to Borderlands 2 and Far Cry 3 for Villain of the Year, because Villain of the Year I named as Handsome Jack and Vaas. Vaas is from Far Cry 3 and just batshit insane, and Handsome Jack is from Borderlands 2 and thinks he's the hero of the game when he is in fact just a major asshole. And both characters, you want to get to that point where you can be like, I'm going to get you, and when I'm going to get you, I'm going to kill you. And the only thing I'm going to be sad about is that I don't get to hear all your one-liners because you're dead. But I want to kill you. And that's the kind of villain you want to play against, is you want to get to this guy that not only do you love for everything coming out of his mouth, but you hate because of everything that he's done. And that's the kind of villains that, like, I love. I mean, relating to comics, I mean, some of my favorite villains are the guys that maybe are morally gray, but that's not the case with either of these guys. They're just flat out dicks, and you can't wait to get your hands on these characters to kill them. And that actually leads us to our most anticipated for 2013. And we will start with BioShock Infinite, which, one of the reasons I'm heavily looking forward to BioShock Infinite is the fact that there is no multiplayer. Or at least there's no multiplayer in the sense that, you know, like, you go into like a whole new section of the game. I think there's a way to like play with a friend as the other lead character. I'm not sure if that's the case. But they're completely, just like the first game, they've completely focused their efforts on a single-player story and the single-player narrative. That excites me, because while I liked 2, I didn't love 2 as much as I loved 1. And I flat out loved 1. And with Infinite, it looks like they're completely focused on telling that story-driven narrative with the abilities that similar to what they did in 1, and that excites me heavily, and I cannot wait for that game. I'm also excited for the new Lara Croft, which I think is going to be a good game. It looks really interesting. It looks fun. I saw a lot of people surrounding their booth at New York Comic Con, and it's just it looks like it's going to be a fun game. It's hard to describe what the gameplay is, because we haven't seen too much. Like, I mean, we've seen the tech demos, but we haven't seen too much of the gameplay itself. And I'm looking forward to it, especially since it's a reboot and it brings Laura into less of a Mary Sue territory. So, and and shows you, how she became who she became. So that's why I'm really looking forward to that one. GTA 5, which is obvious, and that one's not coming out until September. But three characters. You'll be following the adventures of 3 different characters, and it's just, I can't wait to see how they do that, because it's been single player narrative throughout every single game so far. I mean, even with Red Dead Redemption and yeah, all the other GTAs, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the three different player narrative, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. Another one, and there's only 2 more on my list of most anticipated, Double Fine Adventure. I was one of the Kickstarter supporters. I've been watching the documentary of everything that they've been, from the production standpoint, everything they've been doing. And their new game, The Cave, which just came out, looks like a lot of fun. And if it's anything like that, I think we're going to get an amazing game. I mean, I think we're going to get an amazing game one way or the other, because it's Double Fine. And Double Fine does not make bad games. Double Fine makes nothing but memorable games. From Psychonauts to the Jack Black voiced, very fun, I can't even think of the name of it right now, to all the other stuff they've done in the past. They've not made a bad game, so I'm looking forward to that one. And my final one, like I said, I would be mentioning Edmund McMillan again, but Edmund and Tommy of Team Meat are doing a game just called Mew-genics. And from all the teasers so far and everything they've been saying about the game, I'm excited for this. And I can't explain why. Like, just look up Edmund's website, and like I said, that'll be in the links below. But it looks like so much fun, and I trust them as developers, and I will continue to buy every single thing they ever make, because they're that awesome. And I really can't think of what else to say. I mean, you'll be making a whole bunch of different cats, apparently, from what I can tell so far, and you have different characters, and it looks crazy, it looks fun, and it looks like their usual sense of bizarre humor, but bizarre in a good way. So I cannot wait to see what's next. Next vlog, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but on this one is over. So I'm going to, like I said, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button if you like this episode. If you want more of my material, you can check out the podcast. You can check out New Comic Day, which is my awesome webcomic, and you can check out my Twitter, which I'll throw in the link too, because that's where I usually post everything that I'm doing. You can see the frustration that it was to do this specific episode, but yeah, definitely subscribe. Check out the podcast, check out my webcomic, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And I'm going to stop talking now and hit the